Hi everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Dave Rivello, composer and band leader who apprenticed with Rayburn Wright and Bob Brookmeyer and is on faculty at Eastman School of Music. Dave is here to show us Bob Brookmeyer's Chromatic Major 7th exercise.
I studied with Bob Brookmeyer I spent about 15 years with him and have as you might know, written still the only existing book on Brookmeyer called Bob Brookmeyer in Conversation with Dave Rivello. And the exercises that Bob developed there, the three main ones that I teach to all my students at Eastman. There are others that are in the book also. But the first is the white note exercise, which Ein Incerto did a presentation on here, Jazz Composers Present. And also there is the third exercise, which is the three-pitch harmonic exercise, which I also did take through on that with you. And so this is the middle exercise, and this exercise Bob called the Chromatic Major 7th exercise. And the thing about this exercise is that, for one thing, it will stretch your ear like nothing else I know can. It's simple in concept, but it's difficult to do this exercise. And what it gives us, though, is it teaches us to have courage and belief in what I call the good, wrong notes. If you know Bob's playing and his writing, you know that he was very much looking for those kinds of sounds. And so this will help you find those if you're looking for them. And it also just trains your ear and gives you a good way to get to this a little bit maybe more dissonant language if you're looking for it. And what it really sets up is it's a pretty tense environment, but we're still looking for tension and release within this very intense environment. And these exercises line up in many ways with the way that Stravinsky himself would look for parameters or putting some restrictions on himself. So there's quite a few of those here that will help us do this exercise properly. So the first thing I'd like you to see is the sheet in Bob Brookmeyer's hand that he gave me in my very first lesson, giving me this exercise. And so you can see that in the left hand, the only thing that's happening in the left hand is major 7th, the major 7th interval, hence the Chromatic Major 7th exercise. And so in the left hand, the major 7th will descend in half steps all the way down one octave and all the way back up to the octave that we started on. That's one time through the exercise. And in the right hand, there are a few parameters that we need to follow. So the first of those, this would be the first in the slide. The first of those is that we cannot duplicate the left-hand notes while they're sounding in the right hand. So that's the first parameter that we need to follow. So not allowed to use the left-hand notes in the right hand. And then the second parameter is that we want it to be chromatic and not polytonal. And what this means, actually I did this incorrectly the first time when I turned this in to Bob Brookmeyer. And what this means is that if I were to play the C and the B in my left hand and I played F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, F natural, I didn't break the first parameter because I didn't double any of the notes in the left hand. However, I'm just playing F sharp over C. So we don't want to play in this exercise. That's a cool sound, of course. But for this exercise, we want to stay chromatic and not polytonal. And then the third parameter is the no repeated notes. So what that really means is next to one another in the four notes that are with that particular major 7th. We don't want to repeat notes because we don't want to put a prominence on one particular pitch. We're trying to stay chromatic. In the second half of the bar, you could use a note that you used in the first half of the bar if you want to, but I even try to avoid that. And then the fourth parameter is no tonal activity. This really goes along with the number 2. So just staying away from tonal activity. And we'll talk about the guide I'm going to give you on how to help you kind of do that, which when I first did this, Bob didn't give me the little cheat sheet, but I'll give it to you today also. And then the fifth parameter is that we are going to have 8 eighth notes per bar. So that's the only rhythm in the right hand. So we have the half notes in the left hand chromatically down and back up, and we have only 8 eighth notes in the right hand. So when I do this with my students, I give them what I call the Brookmeyer start, which is the first 2 measures that he just pulled out of his head in my lesson that I still think is just brilliant. And so I'd like for you to hear that now, because I want you to start with these when you do this exercise. So here is the first 2 measures showing you kind of the sound of what we're looking for and what Brookmeyer gave me. So before I give you an example of a full example of one of these, I do want to give you the little guide, which is which intervals tend to work best. And so if we look at this, they're divided into 3 categories. The first category being the minor second, the minor third, the tritone, the minor 7th, the major 7th, and the minor 9th. There's no leap restriction, so it's very good to leap far is fine. The one thing that doesn't seem to work so well is if the right hand gets in between the 2 notes of the major 7th. So I would suggest keeping them above that. The second category is major 2nd, major 3rd, minor 6th, major 6th. And that's less good as far as chromatic, because as you would probably figure, if you do more than 1 major 2nd in a row, we're talking tonality already in sort of implying a major scale. And then the last category, the perfect 4th and perfect 5th, really trying to not use those much because they really are connected to tonality. So those are the parameters. With those parameters, I think that will help you to stay chromatic. So what I'd like to do next is have you watch and listen to one of the examples of a full time through this exercise, starting with the Brookmeyer start. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're looking for. And I've very much enjoyed talking with you today. There is a second version of this that Bob also gave us, which is the chromatic perfect 4th exercise. That's very similar, but this will get you going and give you, I think, a lot of enjoyment, and enjoy the tension and release and really, really working with this and spending some time with it. So I hope you enjoy doing it, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos in the comment section down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head over to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.